But there was one topic that we could not ignore today, because it is perhaps just the weirdest, just most out of context decision that a team has made in quite a while. Derek, the Atlanta Falcons decided to take Michael Penix 8th overall, just months after locking up Kirk Cousins to a 4-year contract. Derek, what were your thoughts on Michael Penix going to the Falcons?
Yeah, so I think you kind of have to look at this two separate ways. I think, well, first of all, there was reports that the Falcons were linked to Michael Penix Jr., and when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is silly season last second draft BS. But two ways you got to look at it. Look at the player, look at the situation. The player, Michael Penix Jr., is worth every bit of this pick. He is a fantastic quarterback. I've been a huge proponent of Michael Penix Jr. The guy, yes, he's been in college football a long time. Yes, he's had a couple injuries. But, you know, his health the last 2 years has been great. And when he's played the last 2 seasons, he has been phenomenal. He has stood in the pocket. He has thrown into tight windows. He's thrown guys open. Yes, he had good receivers at Washington, and he was in a good system for him. But continuously, over and over and over, Michael Penix Jr. was elite as a quarterback in college football. And he's got all the size and skill set to be great at the NFL level. So if you're one of these people who are saying, okay, why would you take Michael Penix this high? There were people that thought he was going to be a second rounder. No, the dude is this talented. He is this good. However, let's look at it from the other perspective. What is the situation that he's going into? This doesn't make a whole lot of sense from the Falcons' standpoint, unless they view Kirk Cousins as not the long-term answer, which I guess at his age makes sense, but they just signed him to a lucrative contract. And in the NFL, it's all about timing. It's all about your window. And if you spend all the money that you spend on a Kirk Cousins, you're sitting there at number 8. You could have had you could have had Rome Odunze, you could have had Dallas Turner, you could have had any defensive player you wanted in the draft. There were still multiple offensive players, Brock Bowers. I know they have Kyle Pitts, but logistically, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, am I surprised? Absolutely. I am shocked that the reports were true, that the Falcons were indeed linked to Michael Penix Jr. Is he worth that pick? Absolutely. But when is he going to see the field? I mean, what is the plan here if you're the Atlanta Falcons? I think he's a great fit as far as if you just look at it from a standpoint of him on that team, right? Him and Drake London, him and Kyle Pitts, him and Bijan. They have a lot of talent in Atlanta, and Tristan, we talked about this with the Arthur Smith hiring in Pittsburgh as offensive coordinator. One thing I said is wasted potential. They have so much talent there in that offense, and you know they just didn't get it out of them. If Michael Penix Jr. is a starter or in a starting situation, I'm more than confident that he can get the job done. I think that's a good spot for him as far as the surrounding talent. But in terms of the elephant in the room there, Kirk Cousins is their quarterback. Don't get it wrong. Kirk Cousins is the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. Why? Why did they make this move? I understand it from a player standpoint, but from a offseason planning standpoint, the Falcons could not have butchered this any worse. If they knew they wanted Michael Penix and that was the plan all along for them, they should have signed a Jacoby Brissett. They should have signed one of these cheap veteran starting quarterbacks who can come in, fill that role, and then whenever you feel Michael Penix is ready, then he can step in. But now you have a situation where if Kirk Cousins plays poorly, struggles in prime time, some of the things that we've seen from him in the past, you're going to have fans asking for their 8th overall draft pick to come in. This is just not... They're not putting themselves in a good spot here. And people compare it to the Jordan Love situation in Green Bay. This is not the same. This is the 8th overall selection. I understand you had the Minnesota Vikings, the Denver Broncos, the Las Vegas Raiders, all teams who could have gone with him. But to me, this is going to be a fascinating, fascinating situation to watch play out, Tristan.
Yeah,
You good?
yeah, sorry, technical issue. I don't know what just happened, but I had like a program file open up. It was really weird. I'm scared, but we're fine now. Um, so, but yeah, like you said, with the Penix situation, right? It's not that the player didn't deserve to be selected where he was selected, right? Especially when you consider where the other quarterbacks got selected. Bo Nix just shortly thereafter him, JJ
Yeah.
McCarthy shortly before Bo Nix, right? Like, you know, this was clearly the draft where like, hey, if you've got a guy, you got to go up and get him because next year it's not that great, right? Here's where the issue is. Michael Penix is 24 years old. He's 24.
Well, he's
Jordan Love 23
gonna
about
be
to turn 24.
Yes.
Yeah,
Not
but
to
he's going to be
correct you,
24
but
by the time if I mean correct me if I'm wrong, but he's going to be 24 by the time the first snap of the NFL season starts, right? Jordan Love is 25 years old right now. Right now he's 25. So it's a completely different situation from Jordan Love and Michael Penix. Also, when we look back at Jordan Love as a prospect, it was widely known he was a very raw prospect that needed a lot of nurturing and development. He was still super young, but he had the killer arm. He had some good athleticism, right? But he needed time to sit behind somebody and develop. That was the consensus with Jordan Love. That was not the consensus with Michael Penix. We were talking about him as somebody that, hey, listen, this guy could step in year one and potentially be the best of the bunch, right? Because he is very close to the finished product. I did say that I thought Jaden Daniels was a little bit more pro ready than him, which I mean I still stand by, but it's close. It's fairly close as far as pro readiness. And when I look at this pick, what do you hope to get from this, right? Like, what's the best situation, right? The best situation would be, okay, he sits for 2 years. After 2 years, you eat a lot of Kirk Cousins' money, but he's ready to go. And you've got him under a lock for 3 more years, including the 5th-year option. And he ends up being a good starter, right? Here's the flaw with that. In 2 years' time, when he takes a snap of regular season football, he'll be 26 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be 26. At best, you're probably looking at, what, maybe, you'd be lucky to get 7 years out of him, which, hey, fair enough. That's good, right? But you've only got 2 years left on that rookie deal, and which, by the way, let's remember here, they're going to have to eat a lot of salary from Kirk Cousins' contract if that was to happen after year 2. So for me, this just does not make sense. The advantage of taking a rookie and having them develop is to have them sit for a year, maybe 2 years, right? And then you get a lot more of a financial gain from it. But because of the fact that they paid Kirk Cousins, they're not really going to have access to this financial gain, right? This advantage that we saw the Bengals take advantage of with Joe Burrow when he was on his rookie deal. You know, when Patrick Mahomes was on his rookie deal. Like, we aren't going to see that in the situation. Maybe for a year you'll get that advantage. Like, that's what we're looking at right now. And I just think it's just so dumb to take a player who's arguably one of the most polished in his class, right? Like, I think that this guy is fairly pro ready. You know, the thought process to have him sit for a couple of years and then go, like, I just don't think that is necessary for him. I think it's just stupid. And I think what's even worse about this situation is what you've done with Kirk Cousins now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, now you got a quarterback who hasn't even taken a snap for your organization yet, right? He's only put on the shoulder pads and the jersey for media day, right? And like media reasons. And now you've already have told him, hey, listen, sorry, bud, but you're only gonna have like 2 years here. When he signed and committed for 4, I didn't. And this is gonna be a preview into my Falcons talk for the offseason. I didn't like the signing to begin with Kirk Cousins, to be honest with you. Yes, was he the best quarterback available? 100%. But this Falcons team wasn't a quarterback away. They had a lot of other issues, right? And listen, if they had gotten Michael Penix 8th overall, right? And then let's just say instead of using that money that they used on Kirk Cousins, they went out and added a few more pieces on defense with that money, I'd be very high on their offseason. Because Michael Penix, I view as a solid prospect. I think he can be very good. They got a lot of potential in that offense, a lot of good young pieces. But it feels like it's just like, what are you doing? There's so much like, it's not linear, right? They're making moves that a team close to winning makes, right? And now they're making a move that a team that's rebuilding makes, right? It's not, you're not moving in one direction smoothly. It's just kind of like all over the board. And that's the thing that it's just so ridiculous, right? But here's what I will say. The quarterback position, 100%, it's the most important position in football. You got to get it right. 100%. Neither of us can disagree with that. So while we sit here and say this, if in 2 years' time Michael Penix comes out and he's a top 5 quarterback, top 10 quarterback, who cares? Okay. Let me preface that whole rambling with that. However, in the meantime, you lost the ability to, in this draft, either pick somebody at 8, aka Rome Odunze, who could have made your team better this year, or you could have traded down for a team that wanted to leapfrog the Vikings, right? Or leapfrog the Broncos to take Penix or JJ or Bo, who knows, right? Like, and you could have gotten more assets. You could have picked somebody later in the first, because remember, their defense isn't that great, and there were a lot of defensive players available from pick 15 onward. So pretty much any pick of the bunch you could have gotten. So this just didn't make sense. It did not make sense at all. And I wish the best for Michael Penix. I really do. I think the fact that at best he's touching the field as a starter by the time he's 26. If he's lucky, he's 26 when he touches the field as a starter for the first time. It could be 27. It could be 28. Hell, they could run the whole contract of Kirk Cousins and then start him, and he'll be 29 playing his first football in the NFL. Yeah. That's why this is a ridiculous deal. That's why. Or a ridiculous pick. They should have... I didn't think that this was the correct draft for them to find their guy to develop. Probably not next year's draft either, but at worst the year after would have been their draft to find their guy that they develop, that they have sit behind Kirk for a year, and then you go. It just didn't make sense. Any final thoughts on Penix before we move on to the Cleveland Browns 2024 NFL Draft?
I have a bold prediction, if you would like to hear it.
Sure, hit me, man.
These things have a funny way of working themselves out. I think Michael Penix sees the field at some point this season. I think maybe, I don't want to wish it on anybody.
No.
But, I think something happens that Kirk has to miss a game or two. And I think you're going to see Michael Penix at some point this year.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is like, let's say that situation happens and Penix comes in and he's great.
He's great. Yep,
then
exactly.
What are you going to do? Are you going to eat a lot of money and move Kirk Cousins and essentially like only be able to like get the assets that you get for Kirk and not really use this cap that you move off of? Or are you going to just say to your rookie quarterback who just showed great flashes, hey, sorry, kid, but we're going to have this vet step in? Like, what?
Yeah.
It's just a terrible situation. A vet that, again, it's not at all like the Packers situation. Aaron Rodgers had started there for a very, very, very long time. He was the face of a franchise for a very long time. They drafted a young guy who needed years of development behind a quarterback. That's the difference. That's the difference. And they picked Jordan Love with pick, what, like 22, 25? Late first round?
Late.
Like, not the 8th overall pick, like you said. It's insane. It's insane to me.
Yeah.
I gotta stop before I keep going.
Who knows what's gonna happen with Michael Penix Jr. It's fascinating, to say the least. It is a talking point that you are gonna hear over and over and over and over. I am excited to watch him in the preseason. I can tell you that.
Oh yeah. But also, it's unfair to Kirk in another way, because if
Yep.
he has a bad game, guess what those fans are gonna be rooting for?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Nevertheless, the Cleveland Browns draft is in the books for the 2024